What's happening, party people? Happy Motivate Monday. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. There's something extra about that Monday morning wake up and win, as Coach Stormy would say, wake up and win. It's interesting to me because when you look at statistically speaking, when most people that have major heart attacks, it's happening on Monday morning between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. when they're getting ready to engage in a week where they're working at a job that is not satisfying, where they're working at a job where they feel undervalued, disrespected, overworked, underpaid. And so that's a very telling graphic when you look at that number. And this was something that was shared with me years ago. Maybe it's changed. I hope it has, but I doubt it. So when you're looking at that, I think it's very important how all of us have a conscious reset for ourselves and the attitude that we're going to bring to the week, regardless of the situation. And it put me in the mind of the grading system and how, most of us were taught, how we were indoctrinated. And when we were coming up, there was A, B, C, D, and F. Okay, there was no E. I don't know why they skipped over E, but so that was the grading system. And it was interesting because you think about the dynamic. There's one teacher, there are 20, 30 students, and they're getting the same information. They have the same tools, same textbooks, notebooks, pens, pencils, quizzes, exams, homework, essays. So the everything is the same. And yet you have different outcomes for those 20 to 30 students. Some are going to be A students, some are going to be F students, and then you're going to have a good number in between. Why? Why is that? Well, some students learn differently. Some have an inclination to be very good in that environment, in that setting. Some are not very good in that setting because it's so structured, because it is based on the ability to memorize and regurgitate, and that's not how they process the world, so they're going to struggle. But you're still going to have different outcomes. Now, the A opportunity is available for everybody in that class, and each individual, it's going to be incumbent upon them to kind of figure it out. Now, we can get into a conversation about how students learn differently, and if you have a poor teacher, how do you overcome that? If you have a non-supportive environment at home, and so students are coming into that setting and they're dealing with the stress of a toxic, dysfunctional home environment, and so they're not mentally present in the school day. School is almost an escape. So how do you expect them to learn? There are a lot of variables that play into that. But I don't want to go into those dynamics from a student and a teacher in the A through F structure. I want to talk to you about it for those of us that are out of school. Once you're in the game of life and you're wanting to perform at a high level, and you're in a situation where you're presented with the same dynamics as the person to your left and your right. You might be working in a corporate setting and you have to deal with a horrible employer, a horrible boss, and yet you're still charged with performing. You're still charged with showing up to your job every day and doing your job at an exceptional level, even if you don't have the support. You may be in a situation where there's so much bureaucracy and red tape that you're surviving the circumstances, and you're still compelled to show up because you need the paycheck. That's what you're doing, and you got to come to work anyway. So how do I maximize my opportunity? Maybe you're in a situation where your colleagues are not the ideal colleagues, and you're working with people who are negative and toxic and not productive, and they're actually sabotaging some of your efforts to do your job, and you got to figure that out. Maybe you're in a business, and within your business, you're still dealing with that dynamic of, hey, wait a minute, I'm running a franchise, and all of the other franchisees have the same business, the same tools, the same manual that we have to operate from, the same structure, but some franchisees are really successful and some are struggling, and they end up running out of money and having to close that franchise. Well, it's the same dynamic, ladies and gentlemen. It's a question of, okay, I know I have an opportunity to be an A performer, an A level top peak performer. And regardless of how I process information, my responsibility is to do what? Number one, take 100% responsibility for my ability to learn and to grow and to process information and then to perform and to get the results. So I have to recognize first, let me look in the mirror and take personal inventory. So that's number one. I want you to write this down. Take personal inventory and recognize what parts of my story are serving the outcome that I aspire to, and what parts of my story do not serve the outcome that I'm aspiring to. So that personal inventory can reveal some things about you. Maybe you have a habit of making excuses. Maybe you allow fear to override your ability to perform. Maybe you're someone who has a mediocre work ethic. Maybe you're someone who lives more on your current circumstances instead of really focusing on the outcome and the vision and giving your focus and attention to the vision so that you're always working towards the outcome. Meaning you're more based in your faith than you are your fear. See, people that live from fear, they allow themselves to be dictated to by their current circumstances instead of focusing on their vision and their outcome. So for example, if I am someone that is pursuing a law degree because I want to be an attorney, but I allow myself to get distracted by the difficulties of obtaining the law degree instead of focusing on the outcome, which is to be a successful practicing attorney, well, I might get discouraged by the difficulties and the workload and the study time that I have to put into obtaining my law degree or passing the bar. Maybe I don't pass the bar the first time, and I allow that setback to become permanent, to define me as a failure. Therefore, I will never become an attorney versus what most attorneys have done, because a lot of them don't pass it the first time. They double down, they work harder, they study harder, they're more focused, and they pass the bar the second time because they're keeping their focus on the outcome, which is to be a successful practicing attorney. So that's the difference, ladies and gentlemen, between living in your current circumstance versus living in your future. So having that time to go over your personal inventory and recognize, hey, this is what I am doing and how I'm talking to myself and the story that I'm living from that serves my outcome versus this story doesn't serve me. I'm not good at this. I'm not cut out for this. I don't have the time or the bandwidth, or I have too many distractions, or I have too many excuses. And so when you take the personal inventory, boom, that's the first step. The second step is taking 100% responsibility for your outcome and your results. When you take 100% responsibility, now there's no one else to blame but you. You can't look at the landscape and say, well, there's too many lawyers, so why bother? Okay, but there's never enough great lawyers. So if you make it your business to take 100% responsibility to become a great lawyer, then you separate yourself. You're not defining and looking for a way out. You're actually saying, hey, let me figure out a way to become great, because there's always a high demand for great peak performers in my profession, whether if it's lawyer, doctor, business owner, whatever. Okay, so that's a reframe on how you're looking at it, because you're taking 100% responsibility for the outcome. You're not going to allow any extenuating circumstances externally to define your purpose and your mission, you're going to keep the main thing, which is bringing your greatness to the marketplace, whatever lane you're going to be in. Because that's the, if you understand this principle, okay, prosper where you're planted. Prosper where you're planted. If you live in that principle, then you always have the ability to go within and say, hey, if no one else is performing at a high level, I'm going to perform at a high level. If no one else wants to produce and show up and play at the level that I want to play at, I'm going to do it anyway. If you're the top performing employee because everybody else is apathetic and lazy and not doing anything, but you're still coming to work early, staying late, performing at a high level in spite of your poor employer, your horrible boss, in spite of your colleagues who are negative and toxic and energy draining, you're still going to show up with a great attitude and prosper where you're planted. Well, see, the world makes room for people that more than fill and occupy their current space. And so I've heard of so many stories of individuals that in spite of their circumstances, they were going to show up and they were going to show out every day. And then all of a sudden, they get a phone call for a new opening somewhere else. And they end up in a situation that was 10 times better than where they were because they decided not to be defined by that situation, but to rise above it by becoming a peak performer and making that decision. So these are some of the components and the elements that will allow you to overcome whatever the circumstance is and be that A-level performer, okay? So number one is take the personal inventory. Number two is take personal responsibility. Number three is to make the commitment to the vision, okay? Make the commitment to the vision. Now, obviously, you have to have a vision. So it's very important for you to take the time to really continuously cultivate the vision. A lot of people are moving through life and they don't have a vision. They're simply reacting to whatever life gives them. If you don't cultivate your vision, then you're going to live in someone else's. Now, some of you may say, well, Ed, I don't necessarily have a vision. Like, I'm more of a team person. I like to be a part of something. Great. Then identify a vision that you believe in and become a part of that, and you can serve that vision and do your part to bring that vision to life, or you can cultivate your own. And so even within the context of you having the vision that you're going to commit to, well, maybe your vision can simply be, my vision is to be the best team player and to do my part in making the vision of the company or the leader that I want to partner with, bringing that to fruition. And that's beautiful. It's still a vision. It's still yours, even though it's a part of something bigger, and it may not necessarily be your bigger vision, but you can become a part of that. So for example, individuals that, hey, they say, hey, you know what? I want to work for this company because I believe in their products. I believe in the excellence that their products are manufactured, how they're brought to the marketplace. I want to be a part of bringing this company to the next level. Fantastic. You may say, you know what? My vision is to be able to put my family in a situation where they're incredibly well provided for. And so I'm going to do my part to build my business to a successful level so that my family doesn't have to worry about X, Y, and Z. We're going to be in a situation where we can make decisions without thinking about time or money based on my performance and bringing this vision to life. That becomes your vision, but you do everything in alignment to that, and you commit to the vision and you make that decision. See, when you make a decision, which is from that word decide, pesticide, suicide, that means to cut off, right? That means there's no other option. So you decide and you make the commitment to the vision, and now you've made the decision. It doesn't matter what happens. You're focusing on what? The outcome. You're focusing on what? The future. You're focusing on what? Bringing that into the present. So you don't allow what's happening currently to define that. You're committed to the vision and the outcome, and it's until. I'm going to do what's required until this vision is manifest. And ladies and gentlemen, there is no significant impact. There's nothing of any consequence that is accomplished without that commitment. There's a really strong film out that just came out on Netflix or Amazon. Maybe it's Amazon. Yeah, it's Amazon. And it's called The Burial. And it's about Willie Gary, very famous attorney from the South. And he's taking on this case of a funeral home owner that they own several funeral homes, and then they get an offer by a huge conglomerate to be bought out, about 30 or 40% of their funeral home business. And it's significant because if the deal closes, then the funeral home owner that has 10 or 11, they're going to continue to be able to stay viable because they were in financial trouble. And what happens is this big conglomerate realizes that this small business owner, if you will, they don't have the resources. And so if they stall on the deal, they can just bleed this person out and string them along until they run out of money. And then they can just gobble them up anyway. And then this person ends up bankrupt without nothing. And so the small business owner sues the conglomerate for being dishonest and not honoring the initial deal, not signing the contract, and Willie Gary takes on the case. And so Willie Gary is known as a personal injury attorney, and now he's taking on a contract law case, which is not his area, but he understands people. He understands people, and he has a winner's mindset, a winning attitude. And if you watch the film is what he says at the very beginning is, we are not going to settle this case. He sets the tone. He casts the vision of the outcome is going to be very simple. We're going to win this case, and we're going to win by a verdict that's going to be tens and tens of millions of dollars in our favor. And the small business owner is so taken aback by his vision. It's so big. It's like David and Goliath. Like, are you crazy? But he trusts Willie Gary because he's watched him win and win and win and win and win and win again and again and again. And so he's trusting his winning attitude. Remember, he has no track record in contract law. He just has a track record in winning. He has a track record in having a winning mindset. He has a track record in executing and getting other people to buy into the vision that he casts. So when you watch that film, you understand the power of commitment to the vision, but you also understand that there are going to be what appears to be insurmountable obstacles placed in your way. It doesn't matter that you have a commitment to the vision. The insurmountable obstacles are going to come. And you have to understand that's a part of the process when you have a significant vision. You see, if you have a goal or an outcome or a vision and you can see it clearly and you feel in your mind, this is going to be easy, no problem, I got it. It's not a big vision. That's a hobby. That's like you saying, my vision, Ed, today is to walk 300 yards. And there's nothing wrong with you physically, okay? There's nothing wrong with you physically. You just haven't been near a gym in over a year. And you say to me, Ed, my goal is to walk 300 yards today. Well, see, you already know you can do it. And so that's not a vision. That's not a stretch. That doesn't require faith. It doesn't require vision. It doesn't require much effort. And there's going to be little to no opposition because it's such a small, tiny goal that you're committing to. The powers that be, they're not even going to bother with you. The universe won't even notice that. The universe doesn't care about that. And there's no way for you to test your character with that. So I'm talking about a vision that you have, that you know is significant, that you know is going to be impactful, and you say to yourself, I don't know how I'm going to get this done, but I'm going to get it done, because when I get it done, the number of lives that I'm going to powerfully impact, the change that will come as a result of it, the amount of good that I'm going to be able to do, that's going to keep me on the steadfast path when those obstacles come into my pathway. And I turn every obstacle into an opportunity to get stronger, to get better. So when you watch the movie, The Burial, you'll see these insurmountable obstacles that are presented along the way. And it looks like it's going to be a wrap. But there's something about that fighting spirit. There's something about having that vision, and because you made a commitment to it, you follow through. It's like any of you that have committed in a relationship, you all understand this. Just because you have a commitment to someone in a relationship does not mean you're not going to have challenges. It doesn't mean that there will not be times when you're like, I don't know how we ain't gonna make it. It looks like there's no way we're gonna be able to make it through this, but you go back and you fall back to the commitment, and the commitment forces you to continue to dig, okay? To figure out ways to have better communication, to work through the challenges, and to make it through to the other side, okay? Now that's a two-party thing, by the way, and I'm not talking about situations where there's any level of abuse or, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about the challenges that anybody that's in a long-term relationship are gonna face. So it's the same thing with your vision. When you have a vision that's bigger than you, that can impact somebody significantly, that can change lives forever, those are the rules of the game. So you got to commit to the vision. And when you commit to the vision, you back it up with hard work and dedication. That's number 4. Hard work and dedication. Every day you show up and you show out. Every day you give your best effort. When you're doing and you're engaging in the practice, you give it everything that you have. If it's 20 hours a day, if it's 10 hours a day, if it's 5 hours a day, if it's 2 hours a day, I don't care what the circumstances are. When you're on, you are on. When you're doing it, you're doing it. Because here's what we know. Most people are lazy. Most people are entitled. Most people want something for nothing. So when you understand that, you immediately separate yourself. You know for a fact, I can work my way to the solution. I can outproduce my problems. Because I live in a land of opportunity. I live in a land that gives a person like me a chance to go out and win at the highest levels because I just happen to be born in one of the greatest locations in the world. Not saying we're perfect, not saying we don't have issues. I'm saying that we have the opportunity to go out here and make our way if we're willing to do the work. Hard work and dedication, ladies and gentlemen, it's not genetic. It's not a personality trait. It's a choice. And because you have the choice to put in hard work and dedication each and every day, you have the opportunity to free yourself. You have the opportunity to level up. You have the opportunity to be a problem solver. You have the opportunity to be an overcomer. And that changes the game. So you got your mindset because we did the personal inventory. We identified those parts of our story that don't serve us, that actually impede our progress. We identify that and we change it. We replace it with something that's empowering. So that's personal inventory, removing what doesn't serve us, leaning on what does, and continuing to build the platform. We do, number 2, we take 100% responsibility. If it is to be, it's up to me. I have to do the reading every day. I got to listen to the empowering audio. I cannot be distracted. I can't fall into the scroll universe. I'm not going to allow the phone to become a weapon of mass distraction. I will use the phone as a tool. I will not allow the phone to use me. And I will keep the main thing, and stay focused on what? My vision, because I've, number 3, committed to the vision. And if I haven't figured out or cultivated my own personal vision, I will identify a vision that I can buy into and be a part of, and I will commit to that. It's still my vision now, but it's just a part of somebody else's bigger vision. That's totally fine. Some of you are members of churches and you are following that pastor's vision, and that's what gets you excited. That's what you're fired up about. Some of you work for big corporations and you believe in their products, and that's what you're fired up about. Some of you are franchise business owners and that's what you want to be a part of. The overall vision of having that company, that conglomerate be more successful, and you're going to be the best franchisee you could possibly be. Some of you have your own small business and that's your vision and that's your personal vision. You're going to bring it to life. And then you back it up with hard work and dedication. Hard work, dedication. Every day you show up and you show out. And even if you can only show up for a half an hour today because it's your day off, but you don't take any days off, you just say, hey, this is my day off, so I'm only going to do 30 minutes or an hour of work today, and then the rest of the day is family, activities, whatever. By the way, a day off doesn't mean you take the entire 24 hours and do nothing. It may mean, hey, I'm going to get some rest, I'm going to have some family time, and then I'm going to just take maybe an hour and go hard in my business. But that's my day off until I've manifested the vision. Once you manifest the vision, you're going to cultivate another one. It's very simple. But those are my 4 in order for you to achieve that A-level status, that A-level performance. It's having those 4 elements, those 4 principles, and then you could become that peak performer. You can overcome. Because you take 100% responsibility, you're going to figure it out. When I was a student, actually, let me not use a student because I talked about adults. So as an adult, I made a decision at one point that I was going to learn how to build a successful business. I had never built a business. I had no business experience, but I said I'm going to learn. And then, let's go through it. I took personal inventory. I said, Ed, you don't know anything about promoting. You don't know anything about sales. You don't know anything about building a sales team. You don't know anything about leadership, cultivating leadership. You don't know anything about creating a system that's duplication and building a pipeline. You're going to have to learn all of that. So I took personal inventory of my story. Listen, Ed, just because I have multiple degrees and Ivy League education and Morehouse education, that doesn't mean anything here. You're just like, you're a scrub, like everybody else starting from the ground up. Just because you have some status as a speaker doesn't mean anything here. Just because you've been on television and been in movies and been on Broadway as a performer, as an actor, doesn't mean anything here. You're starting from the ground up. So that was identifying personal inventory. Second thing I did was I took 100% responsibility. If it is to be, it's up to me. So I got to do the work. I listened to audios. I read books. I read articles. I put myself in an environment of high achievers in business who were very experienced at building sales teams, leadership, creating duplication, training, development, sales. And I learned from those people that were very, very successful. So I put myself in an environment of eagles, not pigeons, eagles, high achievers, and I soaked it up. And then what did I do? I committed to the vision. So I created a vision for myself. I saw what I could produce and create, and I said, I'm going to build my own sales team of 1,000 people. That was my very first significant commitment that I made to myself. I never told anybody. I just had 1,000 up everywhere. Everybody saw 1,000, but they didn't know what it meant. Once I committed to the vision, I backed it up with hard work and dedication. Every day I showed up from a business. Every day I showed up, even though there were plenty of days that I got kicked in the teeth. I failed. I didn't make any sales. I didn't recruit any sales leaders. I was just learning. But every day was backed up with hard work and dedication. And then eventually over time, I started to get results. Eventually over time, I started to build a sales team. Eventually over time, I cultivated a culture. Eventually over time, we became the biggest and most impactful sales team in that company in North America. So I took those steps and I implemented them. And guess what? Because I made a commitment to my vision and it was so significant. The first one was 1,000 people. It eventually grew. My vision grew to 100,000, right? Because I told you when you achieve that first vision, mine was 1,000. Then I immediately had a second vision. Let's go for 100,000. Didn't know how I was going to do it. Didn't know how long it was going to take. But I made the commitment to the vision and backed it up with hard work and dedication. We far surpassed 100,000. And if you had said I was going to be able to do that to me 5 years prior to me starting that, I would have been like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, these things work. And I was able to become an A performer in that space of sales teams and leadership because I made that commitment. And I followed the steps and I backed it up with hard work and dedication. So you can do the exact same thing. And I want to encourage you on this Motivate Monday. I want to encourage you to wake up and win, as Coach Stormy would say. Let's go out here and make a difference. Let's go out here and make some things happen. Follow the steps. Take the personal inventory. Make sure that your personal inventory. I knew I was gonna blank when I'm trying to run back the 4 steps. Personal inventory, take 100% responsibility, because if it is to be, it's up to me. Commit to the vision. Know what that vision is going to be, whether if you're going to be a part of somebody else's bigger vision or you're going to create your own, and then back it up with hard work and dedication. And miracles can happen. Lives can change. You could help one person change their life, and that can end up help impacting thousands. You can help a company go to the next level, and all of a sudden you're getting recognized in platforms, and you're living a different lifestyle because of the work that you put in. It's amazing what can happen, where things can take you when you follow these 4 simple steps to be a A-level peak performer. And A's has nothing to do with me when I'm sharing with you today. It's got nothing to do with grades. It has everything to do with peak performance, because we know at the end of the day, and from a school and student standpoint, the A students end up working for the C students, because the C students understand the things that I'm sharing here now. That's what it's about. It's about your emotional intelligence. It's about your ability to have vision. It's about your people skills, your communication skills, your leadership skills, and your ability to cultivate a vision and see it through. Let's go.